Hey everybody, welcome back to my coverage of the PogChamps 3 tournament. This is the second game of the Neeko versus Myth match. If you missed the first one, it's up there in the little info card. You can go watch it. Come back and watch this video. This is the second game. Neeko took the first one. Now Myth has the white pieces. Both players very new to chess, so this game could honestly go either way. And if Myth takes the win, then he will bring the match to an Armageddon game. So let's see how the players played. We have e4 from Myth and d6 from Neeko. The Pierce defense. We have d4 and knight f6, continuing the Pierce defense, knight c3, g6, bishop d3, bishop g7, knight ge2, and both players castle. Wonderful opening so far from both players. It could be an expert game. This could be an expert game of chess based on how they're playing so far. We have b6 from Neeko, just looking to develop that light squared bishop, fianchetto it on that long diagonal, and now f4 from Myth. Really strong move, just taking that center, and you are moving your f pawn, but it's okay here because when black is not contesting the center at all, you can just grab the center. You can always move your king off of this diagonal later if you need to. So f4 is okay in this position. We have c5 from Neeko, and this is actually a mistake because now Myth can play this move e5. Now attacking this knight, and also if this knight moves, then we will have bishop e4, and the rook in the corner is actually trapped because you can't defend this diagonal at all. So we could see a sequence like knight e8, and after bishop e4, knight c7, now defending this rook so you only lose in exchange, and white can exchange a few pawns here, d cross c5, b cross c5, e cross d6, d cross e6, and then take the rook and b up the exchange. And this would be definitely a very good start for white. However, this tactic is kind of hard to see, so we do not see e5 from Myth. Instead, we simply have d cross c5, resolving that tension in the center, which is okay to do as a beginner, and it's okay that Myth missed this tactic here. He might have another chance later in the game. We have b cross c5, once again giving Myth this chance for this e5 tactic. Will he see it this time? No, he does not. He plays bishop e3, just a normal developing move, and if you're not going to play this e5 tactic, bishop e3 is probably one of the best moves you can make in this position. We have knight c6 from Neeko and bishop b5, just getting this bishop to do something, just attacking this knight. So this is a fine move from Myth. Bishop b7, developing Neeko, developing her last piece, also defending her knight. And here Myth plays bishop d3, so just moving this bishop back. And you really don't want to just be, shuffling pieces back and forth for no reason if you don't know what to do. At the very least, you can, go for trades, try to open the position up. So like even bishop cross c6, which is not even the best move because you're kind of just trading a knight for nothing, or trading a bishop for a knight for no reason and initiating this trade really for no reason. But even that move would have been better than bishop back to d6. So probably knight g3 would have been a better move than either of those. Knight g3 here just kind of seems like an obvious move to me. But we have bishop d3 and a5 from Neeko. So just grabbing some more space. And here Myth plays a very weird move. Maybe he didn't know what to do, especially based on his last two moves. But yeah, he plays a bishop takes c5 here, which is just such a weird move. I can't imagine that he didn't see this pawn was defended. I think here Myth just didn't know what to do, and so he decided to sacrifice this bishop for a pawn just to try to open things up and maybe create a plan. Neeko definitely takes this. She plays d takes c5, and we have a3 from Myth. We have bishop a6, so now Neeko is up a piece. She is definitely looking to trade things off, not like that, but you know what I meant to do. And yeah, she's up a piece. She's definitely looking to trade things off. And here Myth makes another mistake. You can't really avoid this trading this bishop, but he just makes another mistake. He plays b4, and this just hangs a pawn. So this square had 1, 2, 3 attackers and only one defender. So this is definitely a hanging pawn. First, Neeko goes ahead and trades bishops. Bishop takes d3, c takes d3, and now she goes ahead and grabs that pawn. A takes b4, a takes b4. This allows Neeko to trade even more, which she does with rook takes a1, queen takes a1, and now knight takes b4, picking up that pawn. We also now have a double attack on this d pawn, and since you can't advance it because of the c pawn, this pawn will also be lost. Myth tries to defend it with knight to c1, but Neeko takes it anyway, which she should with knight takes d3. We have rook d1 now, pinning this knight to the queen. However, this hangs a very deadly threat. So when Myth pushed f5 early on in the opening, it was a very good move at the time, but it also weakened this diagonal. And whenever you push this f-pawn, you always have to be aware of weakening this diagonal. If you're white, this diagonal. If you're black. And black here can take advantage of it. This is actually a mate in 5 after queen d4 check. Oops, that was the move played in the game. But queen d4 check. So Neeko could have taken advantage of this with queen d4 check. And if king to f1, then simply queen to f2 is immediately checkmate. So the king has to go to h1. And now we have this smothered mate tactic, which if you've ever done Puzzle Rush, you have seen this tactic. Knight f2 check, king to g1, knight h3 check, double check. Once again, if the king goes to f1, just queen f2 checkmate. So the king goes back to h1, and now we have this queen to g1 check, queen sacrifice. The king can't take because the queen is defended by the knight. Rook takes queen, and now knight to f2, smothered checkmate. Yes, this was a forced checkmate that Neeko could have had with queen to d4 check, but instead she plays c4, so just defending that knight, which is a totally fine move as well. We have queen a2 from Myth, and here Neeko could have gone into a winning endgame with this very forcing line. Knight takes c1, so with this last queen a2 move from Myth, yes, Neeko's knight was pinned to her queen, but now this also allows knight takes c1, and now if here Myth should definitely just play rook takes c1 and try to continue playing this, but if Myth goes for the queen with rook takes d8, now we can have knight takes a2 from Neeko, and after rook takes f8, now you had two hanging pieces there, so you had to resolve one of them with check. Bishop takes f8, and now knight takes a2. Neeko could have gone for this, and if Myth had cooperated with this rook takes d8 trade, then this would just be a very winning endgame, especially after knight takes e4. You've got this passed pawn, you're up a bishop. Even if Myth didn't go for this rook takes d8 queen trade and instead just simply capture the knight, you're still trading a pair of knights, which is going to be good when you're up a piece and a pawn. But we don't have this knight takes c1. Instead, we have knight takes e4 from Neeko, which is not a very good move because it simply hangs a knight. So will Myth take this knight? No, he does not. He plays queen takes c4. He takes the hanging pawn instead. But yeah, I mean, this is just hanging knight. You got to take this. Knight takes e4. And after knight takes c1, rook takes c1, and queen d4 check, it looks like a fork on the knight and the king, but there's knight f2 check. And this is still winning for black since, white's king is not very safe. Black is up 2 pawns, including this advanced c pawn. I mean, so this is still winning for black, but at least white would no longer be down a piece. So yeah, Myth could have gone for this knight takes e4, but instead he goes for queen takes c4. And once again, this gives Neeko the opportunity to go for this smothered mate checkmate with this queen b6 check now, still taking advantage of this diagonal. And this is a mate in 4 after queen c5, queen takes c5 check, king h1, knight df2 check. Doesn't matter which knight you play to f2, actually. You can play either knight. But after king g1, you now play the knight to h3, which is check, double check, and now king h1, and you can still go for this queen sack with smothered mate, but there is a faster checkmate. You can simply play knight e to f2, and this is checkmate since the other knight covers the g1 square. So yeah, Neeko had this forced mate in this position after queen takes c4. However, she did not go for it. You got to be looking out for those checks, people. Scan for checks, captures, and threats every single move. Instead, we have knight takes c3, which, I mean, is okay too, because you're trading down when you're a piece up. We have rook takes d3 and queen c8, x-ray defense of this knight, also asking Myth, does he want to trade queens? No, he does not. He plays queen b3, so definitely the right call when you're down a piece. We have rook d8 and g3 now, so allowing this rook trade. We have rook takes d3, knight takes d3, and knight e2 check. We have king g2 and queen c6 check. So just taking advantage of white's exposed king, maybe something will happen here. We have king f2 and queen e4, just getting that queen closer to white's king. This does allow queen b8 check, but it's okay because black can play bishop f8, so it's not checkmate. We have knight c5 attacking the queen. Will Myth see it? Yes, he does. He plays queen d4 check, which is a fork on the king and the knight. However, it does allow white to pick up black's knight, which Myth does with king takes e2, and Neeko plays queen takes c5, picking up white's knight. We have queen b2 now, and queen h5 check, getting this fork on the king and the pawn. You would not want to play king f2 here because that would allow a skewer on the king and the queen. Luckily, Myth does not. He plays king d3. So after queen f3 check, Neeko not going for this pawn now because it is defended by the queen. And after king d2, now this allows Neeko to force trade the queens and go into an endgame up a piece and a pawn. So we have queen g2 check from Neeko, king c1, and queen takes b2 check. King takes b2. So Neeko definitely totally winning in this endgame. Can she convert it? We have bishop g7 check and king c2, f6. So you got to start advancing those pawns somehow. King d3, e5. So that was the reasoning behind f6. She wanted to support e5. And we have king e3. We have bishop h6 and king d3. And this is like, come on. You got to at least play king f3 so that you're not losing a pawn here. And yeah, so after king f3, for example, king f3, we would have e takes f4, g takes f4, and here there's a ton of ways to win this for black. You can play f5, you can even play bishop takes f4 and still win this. But one way you can draw this here as black is you play g5, and now after f takes g5, you play f takes g5. Here it's still a win for black if you play bishop takes g5, but it's a draw after f takes g5 because this allows the brilliant move from white, h4. Maybe not too brilliant, but it's a tactic. After h4, this is actually a draw for white now because the g-pawn will be lost, and even if you save the g-pawn with g takes h4, now black only has wing pawns and the wrong colored bishop, so this bishop will not be useful at all. And these wing pawn, even though black has 2 extra pawns and a bishop, white can draw this by simply getting their king to the promotion square in the corner. So this is a very well-known draw. You can look up this position if you want to explore this more, but this is a draw. And this is one way Myth could have swindled a draw. He still would have lost the match, but he would have gotten the draw for it. So that's just one way of how Myth could have still drawn this game. But after king d3, it's pretty easily lost for him. We have e takes f4 and g takes f4. Here you should simply just take this f pawn as Neeko, but we have g5 instead. Once again, you can try for the swindle again with f takes g5, f takes g5, and h4. Black still wins after g4, but if Neeko now takes this pawn, once again it's a draw because after white gets their king to the promotion square, it's the same position. And black can never promote, black can never checkmate, black can do nothing. So Myth had one last chance for a swindle here, but he didn't even take this pawn, which is like, come on, man. He played king d4, so I guess he's just given up here. And let's see how Neeko converts this. We have g takes f4, king d3, bishop g5, king e2, h5, king d2, king g7, king e2, king g6, king f2, king f5. Neeko just bringing her king in. We have king f3, king e5, h3 now, and f5 from Neeko, just advancing those pawns, looking to promote one of them. We have king e2 and king e4, grabbing the opposition. Very good technique from Neeko. We have king f2 and bishop h4 check, king back to e2, and now f3 check. And we have king d2. King f1 would have been a better try. Yeah, just king f1. I mean, you got to stay close to the promotion square if you want to have any hope for a draw here as Myth. But we have king d2. We have bishop g3, and now king c3, and now king e3, and the white king is cut off. Black will promote, So let's see how Neeko finishes this off here. We have king c4 and f2, king d5 and f4, king e6 and f3, king f6, f1 equals queen. Neeko makes a queen. We have king g6 now. Queen takes h3, now defending her h-pawn, also picking up white's last pawn. We have king f6 and f2, king e7 and bishop d6 check. Neeko trying to sacrifice her bishop, but Myth does not take it. He plays king d8, and Neeko makes a second queen now with f1 equals queen. We have king e8, queen hg2, king d7, h4 now. Looks like Neeko is making a third queen. A little bit unnecessary. You got to be careful of stalemates, but you know, it still works, I guess. We have king takes d6 and h3 from Neeko, king c5, h2, king d6, and h1 equals queen. There are now 3 black queens. So will we see a stalemate or will we see a checkmate? We have king c5 and queen d1. A little risky not going for the check, and Neeko is still moving quickly in this position. So stalemate is a very possibility. We have king c4 and king f3, king c5 and king g3, king b6, king h3. Looks like Neeko just wants to get her king out of the way and do this checkmate with these queens. We have king c5, queen gc2 check, king b6. Looks like Neeko is going for the ladder mate. We have queen b7 check first, just sacrificing that queen. We don't want any stalemates here, so this is totally fine from Neeko if this makes her feel better. We have king takes b7 check. I don't know why I thought that was check, but king takes b7, queen db1 check, king a6, and queen ca2, which is checkmate. So Neeko takes the second game and the match here. Very interesting chess from both players so far. Lots of blunders in that first game, a lot of blunders in the second game. Neeko actually played very well in this second game, though, and you know, good job to both of them. So here are the standings for Group A. They're both going to be going to the consolation bracket, but this match was kind of just to see who would be seated where in that consolation bracket. So Benji versus Sardosh, that match is happening later today. I will be covering it. I don't think I have anything else to say about this game or this match, so thank you for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. Don't miss out on, I do all things chess here. Basically, if it's related to chess, I do it. So I love you guys, and keep watching. I'll see you next time.